Hey, did you hear they indicted Putin?
Finally.
Oh man. What are they waiting for?
I don't know. It's crazy. That was
International Criminal Court issues arrest warrants for Putin and other Russian officials.
Maybe they're waiting to see if it was canceled.
Maybe. Sarah says, hey, the International Criminal Court, that's what the ICC stands for, has issued an arrest warrant against Putin for war crimes in Ukraine. When will the ICC issue an arrest warrant against Obama for war crimes in Libya, Syria, and Yemen, or against Bush for murdering over 1 billion innocent in Iraq? See, that's the obvious retort to that. And she did it well, so I'm showing it to you.
But even that, okay, I could go, well, that's just different than... The thing that's crazy is not even in that tweet. Like, what the part I can't get past is we're not in it.
Oh, so that's the whole thing. So the crazy thing is we don't even participate in this thing. Because here, show Jonathan Cook here. After the ICC issued an arrest warrant for Putin, it's only right for Russia to threaten to arrest its judges and seize their what? Their funds, you know, like the United States did when the ICC tried to investigate war crimes in Afghanistan. We should be consistent, shouldn't we? Because that's what the United States did when the ICC wanted to investigate the United States for war crimes. U.S. threatens to arrest the judges. Sounds like shit Trump would do. No, that's just what the United States does.
I know this gets better, but I knew that we didn't belong to that court. So I would bring up, but I didn't realize like how much we don't belong to it. You know what I mean? Like,
I love that. There it is. U.S. threatens to arrest the ICC judges if they pursue Americans for Afghanistan. So these are the conversations I would have with people who would try to tell me that Putin is a special kind of a thug. I'm like, you guys are just repeating propaganda. And
look, I don't like Putin at all, but I will say we owe Saddam Hussein an apology.
Now that the ICC has issued an arrest warrant for Putin, it's worth recalling that in 2002, the United States signed the Hague Invasion Act into law. And what is the Hague Invasion Act? The law states that if any U.S. or U.S. allied official is charged with war crimes at the International Criminal Court, the United States can use military force to free them. And it's called the Hague Invasion Act. Boy, we didn't even bother trying to give it a nice sounding fake name like the Patriot Act.
Right.
Even when we illegally invaded Iraq, we didn't call it the Operation Invade Iraq.
Yeah, right? It was Iraqi freedom.
That's
Hague Freedom is what you should call it.
That's what we should call it. We should call it the Hague Freedom Act. Can you imagine calling it? It's the Iraqi Invasion Act. What?
You couldn't possibly think less.
And so there it is. So this is how much we respect the ICC court. A new law supposedly protecting U.S. service members from International Criminal Court shows that the Bush administration will stop at nothing in its campaign against the court. George Bush today signed into law the American Service Members Protection Act of 2002, which is intended to intimidate countries that ratify the treaty for the International Criminal Court. The new law authorizes the use of military force to liberate any American or citizen of the United States allied country being held by the court, which is located in The Hague. The provision, dubbed the Hague Invasion Clause, has caused a strong reaction from U.S. allies around the world, particularly in the Netherlands, eh? Oh, yeah.
It wasn't that strong a reaction.
It wasn't that strong.
Didn't go anywhere.
So here, Washington has never accepted accountability for its wars and its interventions and tries to demonize all those who resist. So some people would call what we're doing right now, Kurt, whataboutism.
Yeah.
No, this is just showing the ridiculous. So just like when, like how they're bending over backwards to try to indict Donald Trump while every one of our presidents are war criminals. It just shows you that the law is not actually there to keep us all safe. It's there as a tool of the oligarchs to punish and keep people in line.
I love the idea of when BLM was happening, all these Democrats wore kente cloth and all that shit.
That's right.
America's the world cop, right?
Yep.
And then we want to arrest someone like, hey, that cop's corrupt. Like, that's whataboutism. It's the same principle. It's not any different.
No, it's just about that. That's right. What it does is reveals why this is a sham.
Don't talk about how the cops are brutal.
Yeah. So this guy says, Tim Anderson says, Washington has never accepted accountability for its wars and interventions and tries to demonize all those who resist. To this day, its trolls try to claim that the invasion of Iraq was not a great crime, but rather a mistake based on good intentions.
Well, I'm sure that matters to if you're blown up.
Right? It doesn't matter.
Well, the International Criminal Court is troubling to the United States. It's troubling to the administration, obviously troubling to the United States Senate as well. President Clinton signed this treaty, but when he signed it, he said it should not be submitted to the Senate. Therefore, never has been, and I don't intend to submit it either. Because it, as the United States works to bring peace around the world, our diplomats and or soldiers could be dragged into this court. And that's very troubling to me. And we'll try to work out the impasse at the United Nations, but one thing we're not going to do is sign on to the International Criminal Court.
One thing we're not going to do, because our soldiers could be drugged. They could be drugged into that court. He said drug. They could be drugged into that court. He said it.
We got to drug him out.
They say Trump's the moron. He didn't start a new war. He didn't drug anybody in. Wow. Our mission of bringing peace to the world. That's what he said. He said we're, some of our soldiers on our, as we try to bring peace to the world. Boy, that's
great job.
Great job. Remember what everyone, yeah. Our real mission is bringing irony to the world, Kurt. So even John Bolton got in the act. Remember, in 2018, John Bolton threatened sanctions against the International Criminal Court judges if they proceeded with an investigation into alleged war crimes committed by U.S. forces in Afghanistan. Watch this.
The United States will use any means necessary to protect our citizens and those of our allies from unjust prosecution by this illegitimate court. We will not cooperate with the ICC. We will provide no assistance to the ICC, and we certainly will not join the ICC.
The ICC, John Bolton today said that the administration would sanction the International Criminal Court, which is a move that seems to be a reversion to sort of Bush-era policies. Is it fair to say that this administration is now shifting toward a more hardline stance toward the ICC? And if, in fact, it is so feckless, then why is the U.S. so concerned?
Certainly, the president is committed to defending our national sovereignty and all of our security interests, which would include using any means necessary to protect our citizens, those of our allies, from unjust prosecution by the ICC. Their announcement that they would consider opening an investigation into, among other parties, U.S. soldiers in Afghanistan is a threat to American sovereignty. And if they proceed with that, then the United States would consider those options that Ambassador Bolton laid out.
I like
the United States will use any means necessary.
I like that strong words from Johnny Bolton right there. That's why they call him the Malcolm X of white empire.
Put a fist up, Jimmy. Any means necessary.
That's right. Si se puede.
That's also why that court only prosecutes Africans. That's what the only people they can get is African dictators.
Really? That's the only people that the ICC has prosecuted? Well, now they're going to try and get Putin, but Putin...
The first white man to ever be brought into that trial.
Yeah. The irony is that, let's get into this. So what they're officially charging him with is kidnapping and unlawful deportation of Ukrainian children as well as teenagers. Well, why do you think he's getting kids and teenagers out of a war zone? Why do you think that would happen?
He's brainwashing them, probably.
Oh,
right?
That's probably what he's doing, Kurt. According to a report published last month by Conflict Observatory, a program supported by the U.S. State Department. Oh, no shit. Moscow is accused. So, according to this propaganda outfit that's funded by the United States war machine, Moscow is accused of systematically relocating at least 6,000 children from Ukraine to Russia. Yeah, and the report further claims many of these children were then taken to camps or other facilities where they received so-called pro-Russian re-education. Some such facilities are said to be used to foster care or adoption in Russia and the Crimean Peninsula, which Moscow annexed in 2014 after a violent U.S.-backed coup in Kiev. Moscow has been working to evacuate residents from Russia-controlled areas and elsewhere in Ukraine throughout the war, including during the lead-up to the invasion when Kiev massively escalated its shelling of the Donbas. So they're not upset that the Ukraine and the Nazis were shelling those children. They're upset that Putin is getting those children out of the shelling area. That's what they're charging him with.
For Russian re-education, they already spoke Russian.
They already speak Russian. According to the UN, Kiev's war against the breakaway republics, which preceded Moscow's invasion, resulted in the deaths of thousands of civilians. Russia is accused, however, of carrying out forced deportations or the forcible transfer of civilian populations from occupied land, which is outlawed by the Rome Statute, which established the ICC. You mean that thing that the United States doesn't participate in and has already condemned and said that we'll blow it up if they ever try to do that against us? So right here, neither Russia, Ukraine, nor the United States are party to this. So,
wait, is this connected to way back when we renditioned a guy out of Italy and they wanted to bring, that's what they want to bring in for the ICC, for the CIA kidnapping somebody for rendition that we tortured. Later, it turned out they weren't a terrorist, by the way.
Of course.
And I think that's what it has to do with, I bet you, Rome Statute. I thought that's what that was. They got him out of Rome.
So the irony is that now Putin is supposed to be arrested in any of the countries that subscribe to the International Criminal Court. So he can't go to those countries because he's supposed to be arrested. The irony is he could come to the United States because we don't participate in it.
He can hide out in America.
He can hide out in America. What aboutism? When the ICC accuses Russia of kidnapping children from the Donbas, remember that these are the kids they are talking about, children that Ukrainian leadership has gleefully talked of terrorizing and killing. Putin's alleged war crime is rescuing them from these monsters. Do you remember this? Our children will go to school and their children will sit in basements. They're bombing them. That's what this is. And again, so no one's going to the ICC for bombing them. No one's going to the criminal court for killing them. They're now indicting Putin for trying to save them. This is what Ukraine did to Donbas. This is what they did to those kids where they live. That's what the Nazis in Ukraine did to the Donbas for 8 straight years. That's what this is. Yeah, so the nice people of Ukraine, this is what they did to the children in Donbas. And I don't mean the Ukrainian people, I mean the government and the Nazis and the NATO control.
И скажет, это вам награды за то, что вы уничтожаете сепаратистов. Вот они, сепаратисты, под завалами лежат. Вот лежит труп женщины, вот лежит труп ее дочери. Вот это сепаратистов они уничтожают.
So this guy's bragging about how they're killing these people, right? That's what's happening?
I don't understand. It's the Russian re-education. Donbas is where they're into Russia.
These are their separatists.
Yeah.
So let's see.
Вот так они воюют со всеми.
No, he's mad about it.
He's mad about it. Okay. So on March 17th, 2023, the ICC issued a warrant of arrest for Putin over the unlawful deportation of children from Ukraine. It's comedy. Has the ICC forgotten Operation Baby Lift? In April 1975, over 3,000 Vietnamese children were flown out of Vietnam to be adopted by families in the United States and Australia. You remember this?
Including Australia, that the international community should be doing something about the orphans in Saigon.
The United States then made an announcement.
I have directed that money from a $2 million special foreign aid children's fund be made available to fly 2,000 South Vietnamese orphans to the United States as soon as possible.
President Ford's approval of the American baby lifts changed the political climate overnight.
The Americans started airlifting lots of orphans to the United States, seemingly without any problem. Australian couples in Australia were demanding of the government, why is it that the Americans can do these things so easily, yet we don't seem to be able to do that.
With the Americans setting the pace, the Australian government followed.
What appeared to be the political acceptable solution from Canberra was, we'll bring back a whole group of orphans, and we will be seen to be acting humanitarianly, and we will get a lot of the critics off our back who are saying that we're not doing enough.
We are proceeding as quickly as we can with preparations for evacuation. That we have.
Okay. So yet the ICC president told Al Jazeera that he feels this is completely irrelevant. He added the court has jurisdiction over crimes committed in the territory of a state party or a state which has accepted its jurisdiction. Ukraine has accepted the ICC's jurisdiction twice. The ICC has no police force or any way in which to carry out its arrests. When asked if Putin should be arrested, the head of the ICC claimed state parties have a legal obligation to arrest a person in respect to arrest warrants issued.
Oh, you know what? This is so Donbas was trying to be separatist, right?
Yeah.
This is a way to say no. It's definitely part of Ukraine.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what this is. Because I was like, they have no power to do anything. So
the Donbas has declared themselves independent from Ukraine,
so, okay.
and Russia recognized that.
And
Go ahead.
I didn't see anything. Was there anything where like parents of these kids like, oh, they took our kids?
I haven't seen anything. If there is,
remember Laura Silsby in Haiti, the ones that Clinton's helped out, that was working with that charity to help orphans after the earthquakes. She got arrested in Haiti.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the orphans they were taking, it turned out were not orphans. They had parents who were like,
no,
hey, why are you
kidding.
taking? Yeah, and it was a big thing. And now she works for Amber Alert.
No,
after they got her off. Yeah.
She also said the court's decision has no meaning for our country, including from a legal point of view, the Kremlin spokesperson said, and called the warrants null and void. Russia's response is not surprising, as Washington does not recognize the court either. For instance, in 2002, George W. Bush signed into law a piece of bipartisan legislation called the American Service Members Protection Act. The law, informally known as the Hague Invasion Act, allows the president to order military action against the Netherlands, a fellow founding member of NATO, to protect U.S. soldiers and officials accused of war crimes from ever being prosecuted or taken into custody by the ICC. During the Donald Trump administration, the U.S. sanctioned ICC officials for attempting to investigate American war crimes committed in Afghanistan. Former Secretary of State, blah, blah, blah. In 2021, the Joe Biden administration lifted those sanctions, but railed against the ICC's efforts to look into war crimes committed by U.S. soldiers in Afghanistan, as well as the massacre of thousands of civilians perpetrated by Israeli forces against Palestinians in the besieged Gaza Strip. The timing of the arrest warrants for Putin may stifle potential Chinese brokered peace negotiations, which could begin soon as President Xi Jinping is set to meet separately with Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky during the coming weeks. Maybe China is going to promise Zelensky protection if he actually does a peace deal. Maybe that's what will happen. Maybe Russia and China will convince him, your only way is to go with us. Do a peace deal and then let us protect you, because the Nazis are going to kill you. And look what happened to anybody who works with the United States. The International Criminal Court's arrest warrant against Vladimir Putin should worry Jerusalem. Putin is accused of violating prohibitions set in international laws of occupation. The exact crime he is accused of is a sibling crime of the crime of settlements. Russia defies Putin arrest warrant by opening its own case against the ICC. So I don't know. Again, this is just more propaganda. This is just more, and it's why now? Why do it now? Where they were just waiting to a time to distract people from all the stuff that's going on.
Well, the peace deal thing, I don't know how does that stop them from doing that peace?
I don't know how it stops them from doing a peace deal either.
You know, it is like I can see it reaffirming, because the thing of taking these orphans it's being occupied by Russian soldiers, right? Donbas right now. So that's a war zone.
It's a war zone.
So why would you want to keep those kids
in a war zone?
Like that are
well, this is the news you're not going to see on CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, the Washington Post. You might see it on Tucker Carlson. But you're not going to see it anywhere else in the corporate news. And the reason why you'll see it on Tucker Carlson, because ironically, they gave him freedom when they scared all his advertisers away. And so now the number one news show in America doesn't have mainstream news. It doesn't have mainstream advertisers, but it still is the number one news show in America. Go to jimmydore.com to see my new stand-up special, COVID Lies Are Funny. For only $10, you get to become a premium member too. And come see us do our live shows. We're going to be doing stand-up comedy in Milwaukee, Nashville, Honolulu, Los Angeles, Northampton, Massachusetts, Syracuse, New York, Cohoes, New York, Hartford, Connecticut, Baltimore, Maryland, and more. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets.